All right, well, thank you for coming. Deals Diabolical represents my first full book-length work. I have two others, as she said, Diane's Descent, which is a 75-page novella, and I also have Behind the Wheel, which is a little more suitable for an adolescent audience, but Deals Diabolical is more for a mature audience. It is a collection of 8 short stories, pretty much centered around the idea of people that make a deal with the devil for various reasons and the ways that it comes back to bite them. Now, what would make someone make such a bargain? Desperation, a wish for revenge, mischief-making gone horribly wrong, and even a desire to sacrifice oneself to save others are all touched upon here. Now, most of these stories were written 2 years ago, shortly before the birth of my son, and they were put on the back burner for a while. Lately I've had more time. He's a little bit older, so I'm able to devote more time to my writing, which I'm very, very passionate about. And I took them out, reworked them, and put them out as a collection, which they were meant to be in the first place. Now, the first story comes from one of my main sources, which is dreams. It's often like I'm watching a movie in my sleep. I'll keep a pen and paper beside my bed, and I will wake up, sketch the bare bones of the story, and then polish it up, flesh it out, and it's a story. Now, this one is about a young lady named Liz, and I remember seeing it unfold. She is a DJ at a radio station. She's outside, she's having a cigarette, but unbeknownst to her, she is not alone. She has had a fight with her boyfriend 2 days ago because he does not like it that she works the overnight shift. But he's between jobs and they really need the money. So they don't have a lot of options. She thinks he's overreacting and says, well, all right, I'll take another shift when it's offered, but for now, we kind of need it. Now, 2 days later, she was sitting alone, spinning in her chair. She lined up Ada Johnson's request, introduced it with her own jazzed-up, polished version of what the woman had written in her email, and sent it out onto the air. She then got up, popping out of the little studio and out the side door to have a cigarette. According to Catherine Jolin, these cancer sticks, as she endearingly called them, would be the death of her daughter. No amount of nagging could convince the girl to give up her nicotine fix. Each run-in with her mother on the subject only made Liz crave a puff worse than ever. She had picked up the habit when she was 15. Now, 8 years later, she had it down to a science. She knew precisely how long it would take to smoke her way through 3/4 of a cigarette and could time her smoke breaks to coincide with one of the longer ballads she made sure to play once every hour. She stood outside during the span of the current song with the door chalked open, savoring the smoky menthol refreshment on this balmy night in late July. There was a slight breeze, just enough to rustle the leaves in the nearby trees. This was state park country, with a massive cluster of federal and state wilderness preserves across the Hudson River to the west, Hudson Highland and Sprout Hill parks to the north, Tiny Beach Park to the east, and a sizable combination park/reservation, Bluestone Mountain to the south. The Keep Peekskill Green Committee had seen to it that the city had planted several new trees, as well as refrained from cutting down a few modest swaths of forest already in existence there. One of these abutted the station, and Liz's favorite smoking spot stood about 15 feet away from a lush urban tree line, across a narrow strip of asphalt that snaked from the front parking lot around the 3 obscure sides of the building. Her favorite mental joke was that there was a healthy side to her habit. It forced her to spend time outdoors in the fresh air. As she dropped the still smoldering butt into the water-filled coffee can serving as a makeshift ashtray, she thought she heard a scuffling in the underbrush. It didn't raise a red flag, given the proximity of the woodlands. Raccoons, deer, even beavers were frequent backyard denizens. Last year, a black bear had incited a minor panic as it rambled through the residential district, rummaging through garbage bins and dumpsters. Liz was sorry she'd only seen it in the television footage, and secretly wished another one would come through the area. She opened the door wide, shoved its wooden block doorstop off to the right with her foot, and came back inside. The door had a temperamental automatic lock. It usually engaged, but occasionally it didn't, and there was really no way to check from indoors. However, if someone neglected to place the little chalk in the door when they felt like sneaking out and back in, the odds were against them that they'd be able to get back into the station. Liz scooted down the hall and flopped back into her chair, putting on the headphones in preparation for a phone call, or as she liked to call it on her show, Liz's listener interaction time. According to the lip buttons, she had 2 interactions awaiting her attention. She answered the first one. "Hi, you're on the air with Liz." "Hey, Liz, this is Mark from the Gas Up on Central Street. I listen to you every night, and I just wanted to say you have the nicest voice." "Thank you, Mark. It's always nice to get such a sweet compliment from a dedicated listener. Having a busy night over there?" "Nah, it's never hopping on a Monday. I guess it's technically Tuesday right now, but still, it's pretty dead." "Well, try to stay awake over there, dear. I'll pick out a song just for you. How about that?" "That would be great. Thanks, Liz." "No problem, Mark." She queued one up from the hit list, an overplayed cliché tune about staying strong and making it through the night. Once it was on, she took the next call. "Hi, you're talking to Liz on Late Night Live." "Hello." That was all he said. She could hear him breathing, almost saw him working his lips in an attempt to make something else come out. Oh boy, she thought, another star-struck shy guy. Good thing this call was second in line. "It's okay. You're not on the air, thanks to the miracle of tape delay broadcast. Talk to me, buddy." More breathing. Finally, he spoke up in a mild, soft tone. "You're my favorite DJ, Liz. You really helped me through the week. I want you to know that. Before you, I was a fan of Jan Harrison. You know, Jan's overnight love songs." Liz shuddered. Shortly after she'd gotten this gig, the third shift jockey for their rival station in Cortland, WSLM-FM, had been found dead. Ms. Harrison had gone on the air one night, then about halfway through her show, the music stopped, giving way to dead air. During the wee hours, she had been stabbed repeatedly, and she was found in the morning next to the dumpster behind the building. The poor custodian who'd come upon the body had been questioned intensively and subsequently released, much to the Harrisons' family's chagrin. Her husband in particular was shocked and enraged, going so far as to pursue the man back to his housing complex and conduct his own interrogation. Unfortunately, no one was ever charged with the murder. There had been a bevy of security cameras hovering around the front door and inside the reception area, but none covering the outside perimeter. The gentleman went on in that subdued, cottony voice. "Once your show started, I was hooked. You blew her away, you really did." Liz desperately wished this conversation would end. Diplomacy kept her from simply hanging up, so she tried to hustle things along instead. "Thank you, you're very kind. Is there a song you'd like to hear?" He continued as though he hadn't heard her. "I tried calling her and making a few suggestions, but she wasn't as nice as she sounded on the radio. The last time I called, she was highly rude, told me to mind my own business, and hung up on me. She always dressed so modestly, too, so I expected her to have better manners." Liz was rapidly becoming more uncomfortable. How did this guy know what kind of clothes the woman wore? Was he some kind of stalker? "Not that you don't dress nicely. I didn't mean to imply that. You just seem more casual, more down to earth. You're a t-shirt and jeans kind of girl. That's one of the things I like about you." She was indeed wearing a black tee with the Pink Floyd prism on the front, along with some faded, worn blue jeans.